All right, grab your wands and get ready to stir up some serious analysis. Because today,
I like that.
we're diving deep
Sounds intriguing.
into one of the most fascinating...
And controversial. Don't forget controversial.
Oh, absolutely one of the most controversial characters in the Harry Potter universe.
Couldn't agree more.
Severus Snape.
See, what's fascinating about Snape is he just defies those simple labels.
Totally.
Good guy, bad guy.
Yeah.
You just can't pin him down.
Exactly. Some fans love him.
Yeah.
Some, well, let's just say they have strong opinions.
That's putting it mildly.
But you can't deny he is one of those characters who sparks endless debates.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes him so perfect for a deep dive like this.
It's going to be juicy.
It really is. And you really came prepared.
Well, you sent over a stack of articles, fan theories.
Even some psychological analysis.
Oh, yeah. Looks like someone's ready to go full-on potions master on this one.
Well, you could say that.
All right, so...
The goal here is to brew up a better understanding of WHY. Snape is the way he is.
We got to get that recipe.
Exactly. So we'll unpack his past,
Okay.
his motivations, those key relationships that really left their mark on him.
All right, so for anyone who might need a quick refresher, Snape's childhood.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
It wasn't exactly sipping pumpkin juice by the fireside.
Oh, no, not at all.
His early years were rough. Imagine growing up feeling like an outsider in your own home.
Right, like you don't belong.
And magic being the one thing that makes sense.
The one thing you can cling to.
Yeah, it's like that one safe space, but even that gets complicated.
Oh, for sure. And you can see how that early lack of trust, that lack of belonging, that might have pushed him towards seeking acceptance in darker places.
Right, like finding a community.
Exactly, even if it's the wrong kind of community, like
Right.
with the future Death Eaters.
So maybe those seeds of darkness were planted early on, like right from the start.
I mean, it's possible, right?
Yeah.
We can't forget Lily Evans, though.
Oh, Lily.
His childhood friend, first love.
She's a big part of this story.
Huge
She offered him a glimpse of that warmth.
acceptance.
Yeah, that acceptance that he craved.
For Snape, she was a reminder that the world wasn't all darkness.
But even that friendship was strained by his interest in the dark arts.
Right.
And then, of course, there's his choice to be sorted into Slytherin House.
Now, for those not as familiar with the Harry Potter world,
Right.
Slytherin is known for attracting witches and wizards who value ambition.
Cunning.
Yes, cunning, and sometimes a certain disregard for the rules.
Not exactly known for its cuddly Hufflepuffs.
You got that right.
Okay, so we've got this kid from a tough background drawn to a darker side of magic,
Right.
ending up in the house with a bit of a Durban.
Reputation.
Definitely a reputation.
It makes you wonder, was this all pointing towards his future as a Death Eater?
Was it all predetermined?
Or was it the environment shaping him?
It's the classic nature versus nurture debate.
Like, how much of Snape's path was, I don't know, predetermined?
Versus how much was influenced by those early experiences.
And the choices he made. Right, those crucial choices.
That's a question that really hangs over his whole story.
The whole thing, yeah.
Let's be real for a sec.
Okay, I'm ready.
Snape was a total genius,
Oh, without a doubt.
especially when it came to potions.
Potions master, literally?
He didn't just follow recipes.
No, he went beyond that.
He understood the magic on, like, this deeper level, the way ingredients interacted.
The subtle energies at play.
He was basically a potion whisperer.
I love that potion whisperer.
Okay.
It really captures his talent.
So it was innovation.
Not just rote memorization.
Right, which tells us he possessed a mind that was both incredibly creative
And analytical.
ooh,
A dangerous combination.
especially in the wrong hands.
For sure.
And maybe a little reckless too, right?
Reckless. How so?
Well, we have sources here that mention sectum sempra.
Oh, yeah, that's a nasty one.
That's the spell he created as a teenager.
Yeah, as a teenager.
It's powerful, even dangerous.
Definitely dangerous.
Kind of a red flag, wouldn't you say?
It definitely hints at a darker side, a willingness to push boundaries, even maybe a fascination with power? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like this early glimpse of that darkness.
And that leads us to the heart of Snape's complexity.
Okay, lay it on me.
That constant push and pull between light and shadow.
Yeah,
He becomes a Death Eater,
right.
embracing this hateful ideology.
Right.
Yet he's instrumental in protecting Harry Potter.
It's like, wait, hold on.
Explain this.
Okay, so for those who might not remember,
Right.
the Death Eaters were basically Voldemort's inner circle.
Like his elite force.
Yeah, they believed in pure blood wizarding supremacy.
And they were responsible for some pretty horrific acts.
Pretty horrific. So on the one hand, you've got Snape aligned with this group that represents everything evil in the wizarding world.
Yeah, it's hard to reconcile that.
But then he's risking his life to protect Harry.
Lily's son, which adds another layer.
It just doesn't add up at first glance.
It's a head-scratcher for sure.
It's like he's brewing this incredibly complex potion
Oh, I like that analogy.
of motivations,
Yeah.
and we're trying to figure out the exact recipe.
And the ingredients are all over the place.
And then there's this whole unyielding love for Lily,
Even after her death.
even after all those years.
A powerful force in his life.
So, his Patronus, that magical manifestation of your happiest memory.
Oh, yes. Patronus is always fascinating.
Yours is a dolphin, I believe.
You remembered?
Well, his was a doe,
Like Lily's?
just like Lily's.
Powerful symbolism, wouldn't you say?
So even years later, Lily's still the most joyful thing he can conjure?
It seems that way.
Wow. So Snape's redemption wasn't about grand gestures or public apologies?
No, not at all.
Quiet.
Often painful,
Yeah.
actions driven by this love that never faded.
So, okay, we've got this troubled kid turned brilliant but morally gray wizard
It's quite the combination.
carrying a torch for this lost love.
Always there in the background.
Where do the Death Eaters fit into all of this? Like, what drew him to them in the first place?
Well, this is where understanding Snape's longing for acceptance
Right? That need to belong.
becomes crucial. He was constantly seeking that.
Validation.
Yeah, validation. And it seems like he never truly found it.
It's almost like he was searching in all the wrong places.
You have to remember the social climate at the time, too.
Right. Things were pretty tense.
The Death Eaters were gaining power, preying on people's fears and prejudices.
Yeah.
It's not hard to see how a young Snape, especially with his background,
And his resentment towards those he saw as privileged, like James Potter,
right, that resentment definitely played a role.
might have been drawn in,
It's a slippery slope.
which makes his later actions even more complicated because he eventually turns against them.
He does a complete
He
180.
becomes a double agent,
Talk about a risky move.
risking his life to work against Voldemort.
And protect Harry.
It's like his love for Lily is this hidden ingredient that changes the whole nature of the potion he's brewing.
It's a catalyst for sure.
It's a turning point. He goes to Dumbledore, begging him to save Lily's life.
That one plea sets his whole double life in motion.
And this is where Snape's incredible skill in occlumency and legilimency comes in.
Ah, yes, those impressive mental arts.
Okay, for those not up on their advanced magic,
Right, let's break it down.
what exactly are those?
Well, occlumency is the art of shielding your mind from outside intrusion,
Right.
while legilimency is the ability to penetrate another's mind.
Whoa, so like mind reading.
Essentially, but both are incredibly difficult to master,
I can imagine.
requiring immense mental discipline and control.
So Snape basically had to become a master mental ninja to keep his true thoughts hidden from Voldemort.
Exactly, he had to convince everyone,
Even Voldemort.
even the most powerful dark wizard of all time,
Wow.
that he was truly loyal to the Death Eater cause.
Living a double life.
Talk about high stakes.
It's insane.
He's playing 4D chess with Voldemort.
While juggling his feelings for Lily.
And this growing responsibility to protect Harry.
Right. And let's not forget,
Oh, there's more.
Harry is a living, breathing reminder of James Potter.
The man who, shall we say, didn't make life easy for Snape back in their school days.
Yeah, let's just say there was a bit of rivalry there.
Bit of rivalry, that's one way to put it.
Okay, so we've got this whole rivalry thing, adding yet another layer of complexity to this already potent brew.
It's a recipe for disaster, almost.
Speaking of complexity,
Oh, here we go.
let's talk about the murder of Dumbledore.
Now, that's a moment that still has fans arguing.
Even today.
Oh, absolutely.
It's such a shocking moment, and you have to admire the way Rowling constructed the narrative.
To keep us guessing.
Why would Snape kill his supposed ally?
Right, after everything he'd done to protect Harry.
It just seemed
Out of character.
totally out of character.
But here's the twist.
Okay, hit me with it.
It was all part of a plan.
A plan.
Dumbledore, already dying from a curse, entrusted Snape with this task to maintain his cover and protect Harry.
Wait, so he actually volunteered for this?
That's what it seems like.
That's a huge heel sacrifice on Snape's part.
It was a move born out of necessity,
Yeah.
but also perhaps a desire for a kind of redemption.
Like atoning for his past.
In a way, yes.
He was essentially taking on the burden of becoming the villain in everyone's eyes,
It's a pretty heavy burden to bear.
ensuring Harry's safety, even if it meant being hated by the very people he was protecting.
Talk about operating in the shadows.
And it worked. He became headmaster of Hogwarts.
Maintaining his position within Voldemort's inner circle.
But what a heavy price to pay.
Oh, absolutely. And You know, it's a perfect example of the moral ambiguity that defines Snape's character.
Right, that gray area.
He does something terrible,
Breaks everyone's trust.
but it's all in service of a greater good.
And he does it knowing he'll never receive any recognition or gratitude for his actions.
The ultimate sacrifice, perhaps?
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. His childhood, his brilliance and flaws, his love for Lily, his dangerous dance with the dark side.
We've been through a lot.
But what about his end? I mean, Voldemort kills him, believing Snape to be the master of the Elder Wand, right?
That's right. But even in his final moments, Snape's actions are driven by that deep, complicated love for Lily.
And his desire to protect her son.
Of course, remember that vial of memories he gives Harry?
Oh, right. Right before he dies.
That changes everything.
Okay, let's unpack that. What was in those memories?
Snape's entire story, his love for Lily, his lifelong protection of Harry, his sacrifices, his regrets, it's all there.
Wow, like a final confession.
In a way.
It's a final act of redemption, one that could only be understood after his death. It's heartbreaking, really.
It is. He lived his life misunderstood, hated even.
And it's only in death that the truth is revealed.
It really makes you question those initial judgments we make about people, doesn't it?
It does.
Severus Snape is proof that there's always more to the story.
Yeah.
That even the most unlikable characters
And be capable of profound love and sacrifice.
Exactly. There's always more than meets the eye.
All right, so we've brewed up a pretty potent potion of analysis here.
It's been a fascinating journey so far.
Snape's childhood, his talents, his choices, his loves, his losses.
All the key ingredients.
He's a character who refuses to fit neatly into any box.
He keeps us guessing.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more to come.
Are you ready to delve deeper into some of those key relationships?
Absolutely. Let's see what other secrets we can uncover in this fascinating character study.
Okay, so we've brewed up a pretty potent potion of analysis here. Snape's childhood, his talents, his choices, his loves, his losses. He's a character who refuses to fit neatly into any box. But we're not done yet. You ready to delve deeper into some of those key relationships?
Absolutely. Let's see what other secrets we can uncover in this fascinating character study.
Let's start with Lily Evans. We know their friendship was complex. But how did that unrequited love, that rejection, truly shape Snape?
You know, Lily wasn't just some schoolgirl crush for Snape. She represented everything he longed for. Acceptance, love, a connection to something pure and good. She was a light in his otherwise pretty bleak existence. And her rejection, especially when she chose James Potter, well, it wounded him deeply.
It's almost like he never truly moved on, even after all those years.
Right.
He clung to that memory of her, even as she built a life with someone else.
Exactly. That's what makes his love for Lily so tragic. It was powerful, yes, but also flawed.
Flawed, how so?
Well, it was tinged with possessiveness.
Ah, I see.
It's clear from your research that some fans see it as unhealthy, even obsessive, and in many ways, it became a driving force for both his good and bad choices.
So Lily's rejection is like this catalyst, this hidden ingredient that keeps bubbling up in all his other relationships.
It's a recurring theme for sure.
It makes you wonder what would have happened if she had returned his feelings. Would he have become a Death Eater at all?
That's the million-galleon question, isn't it?
Million-galleon question. I like that.
It's impossible to know for sure, but it's certainly a tantalizing thought experiment. But moving on, we have to talk about Snape's relationship with Harry.
Oh, yeah. Harry.
That was a whole other level of complicated.
Talk about tension. You could feel the animosity radiating off them every time they were in the same room.
Imagine being tasked with protecting someone who is a constant living reminder of both the woman you loved and the man you loathed.
Oh, wow.
It's a recipe for inner turmoil. And Snape's resentment towards James Potter definitely spilled over onto Harry.
It's like he's caught in this web of his own making.
Right.
Protecting Harry out of duty to Lily, but also battling this internal conflict every step of the way.
Exactly.
And Harry, being a teenager, doesn't exactly make it easy on him.
Teenagers rarely do. But that dynamic is what makes their relationship so compelling. You have Snape, this brooding, secretive figure, constantly pushing Harry away, testing him, even being downright cruel at times. And Harry, with his own baggage and teenage angst, is naturally suspicious and resentful. It creates this constant friction that fuels so much of the drama.
And then there's the added layer of Snape seeing so much of James in Harry,
Oh,
both physically and in terms of personality.
yeah.
It's like he's constantly reminded of his own past hurts, his own failures.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that Snape is also Harry's potions master,
Right.
a subject that requires precision, control, and a certain level of detachment.
It's almost ironic, isn't it,
How so?
that this man, consumed by such powerful emotions, is teaching a subject that demands a certain level of emotional neutrality.
It's like he's constantly trying to contain this storm raging inside him,
Yeah.
while simultaneously trying to teach these kids how to brew a simple forgetfulness potion.
It's a fascinating paradox, and it speaks to Snape's incredible self-control,
Uh-huh.
his ability to compartmentalize. He might be a cauldron of emotions underneath, but he manages to maintain this facade of coldness and control, at least most of the time.
It's an impressive feat, to say the least.
Okay, so we've got this intense, almost toxic relationship between Snape and Harry. But what about his connection with Dumbledore? They had this mentor-student dynamic, but it always felt manipulative, wouldn't you say?
That's a very astute observation. Dumbledore trusted Snape,
Trusted him.
saw his potential for both good and evil, but he also used him, exploiting his love for Lily to ensure his loyalty and guide him towards a specific path. It raises a lot of ethical questions about the lengths we're willing to go to achieve a greater good.
That's like Dumbledore was playing this high-stakes chess game,
Yeah.
and Snape was one of his most valuable pieces. But was Snape truly aware of the game being played, or was he a pawn, manipulated by a master strategist?
That's the ambiguity that makes their relationships so fascinating. Dumbledore knew Snape better than almost anyone,
Right.
understood his motivations, his weaknesses, and he used that knowledge to nudge Snape towards the path he believed was necessary to defeat Voldemort.
So was Snape a willing participant in this grand scheme, or was he, in a way, a victim of Dumbledore's manipulations? It's a question that has no easy answers, and one that continues to be debated by fans.
And that's what makes this deep dive so engaging. We're not just rehashing plot points, we're exploring the nuances, the gray areas, the ethical dilemmas that make these characters so compelling.
It's like we're brewing our own potion of understanding, adding layer upon layer of analysis, trying to decipher the recipe for Severus Snape. But what's the final product? Who is he at his core? A hero, a villain, a victim, a manipulator.
Perhaps he's all of those things and none of them. Perhaps the most important takeaway from this deep dive is that Severus Snape defies easy categorization. He embodies the complexities of human nature, the contradictions that exist within us all.
So, as we approach the final stage of our analysis, let's shift our focus to the legacy of Severus Snape. What impact did his choices, his sacrifices, have on the wizarding world? And perhaps more importantly, what can we, the muggles on this side of the page, glean from his story? So we've explored Snape's past, his motivations, his complex relationships, but what about his impact on the wizarding world? What's his lasting legacy?
That's the question that lingers, isn't it? On the surface, he's this stern, unyielding professor,
Yeah,
feared by many.
right.
But if we look deeper,
Beyond that gruff exterior,
we see a man who played a pivotal role in defeating Voldemort, even if it meant making unimaginable sacrifices.
and operating in the shadows.
Always in the
He
shadow.
was like a hidden guardian, protecting Harry when no one else could, even when Harry himself resented him for it.
Exactly, and that's where the true complexity of his legacy lies, I think.
It's
He
fascinating.
saved the wizarding world, but he did it in a way that left him ostracized.
Misunderstood it.
Yeah, misunderstood. He's a reminder that heroism doesn't always wear a shiny cloak. Sometimes it comes cloaked in darkness.
Fueled by pain.
And driven by a sense of duty that very few could understand.
It makes you think about how history is written, how we judge those who came before us. What if Snape's story had never been revealed?
What if Harry had never seen those memories?
Would he have been remembered as a villain?
It's certainly possible, and that's a powerful lesson for us, even in our non-magical world.
Right, like stepping outside the pages of Harry Potter.
Are we quick to judge? To label people based on appearances or incomplete information?
I mean, we've all been there.
Snape's story challenges us to look deeper, to consider the hidden motivations and sacrifices that shape a person's actions.
You know, it's funny, after all this analysis, I'm almost more confused about Snape than I was before.
Really?
But it's a good kind of confusion, you know? It's like he's cracked open this whole new way of thinking about characters,
About good and evil.
about the power of love and loss.
I think that's the mark of a truly great character, honestly.
They stay with you long after the story ends.
Yeah.
prompting reflection, challenging your assumptions. Snape might not be the easiest character to love,
Definitely not.
but he's certainly one of the most thought-provoking passionists.
So, dear listener, as we reach the end of this deep dive into the enigmatic Severus Snape, we want to turn the question over to you. Has your perspective on him changed? Do you see him as a hero, a villain, or something in between?
There's no right or wrong answer here.
Right. It's all about interpretation.
It's about engaging with the complexities, wrestling with the contradictions, because in the end, it's those shades of gray that make characters and life itself so fascinating.
Maybe the most important takeaway from this deep dive is that judging a character, like brewing a potion, requires careful consideration of all the ingredients.
You can't just focus on one element.
The base elements might be bitter, the process messy, but the final product can be something truly transformative. And with that, we leave you to ponder the enigma that is Severus Snape. May his story continue to spark debate, inspire analysis, and remind us that even in a world of magic, the most powerful forces are often the ones hidden beneath the surface.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, sometimes the most unassuming ingredients can brew the most potent potions. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds brewing.